So at Gen Con, we got to watch the Ennies, and one of the products that was nominated for best cover art was this product that we're going to talk a little bit about tonight. It is a 5e product, which I know a lot of folks were going to be like, Doug, you don't play a whole lot of 5e. It's kind of odd to have 5e, content on the show. I don't usually have a whole lot of it, but I am a huge sci-fi nerd, and I really dig this product. I love products that are high quality, and the setting just grabs me. So I'm super stoked for I believe it's pronounced Aetherra, and all the things that the Alchemy team are doing, and they're collaborating with Hit Point Press, which again is a phenomenal publisher. So we're going to talk about Aetherra and all the things that Alchemy are doing to support this game, this line. And of course, if you're interested in anything that we're talking about, feel free to check out the Kickstarter that's going on right now. The link is in the description of this video. It is already well funded. It's going towards stretch goals. As you can see, there's over 800 folks that have already backed this. It's got quite a bit of time still left on the Kickstarter, so I'm going to tell you to go check it out. If you are a 5e player, or even if you're not, go check it out, because the setting is super cool and the art is amazing, and I think you're going to get some really high quality products, as well as a way to play it online on their virtual platform. So without further ado, let's get talking about Aetherra Dark Symmetry. Hey everyone, welcome to Victory Conditioning Gaming. My name is Doug. Today on the show, we're talking Aetherra with the Alchemy guys. And of course, joining me as a co-host is the one and only Geek of the North, Jason Hunt.
Hello.
Jason, thank you so much for giving us time tonight to talk to the crew here from Alchemy and to talk about their latest Kickstarter. I know you're a big fan of their platform, as am I. And I'm excited to see this line for them grow, because I'll tell you what, you got one of their nice founder pins. Look at that. Founder
number 409.
Nice. Very cool. I'm going to remind folks that if you are, if you're a fan of Alchemy and all the things that they're doing with their online platform, hit that like button down below, share this video, all that jazz. If you haven't already subscribed, hit the subscribe, all the stuff I'm supposed to say. Let's just get to the real reason why we're here, and then of course is to talk to Chris and Asher. Guys, thanks for coming back on the show. I didn't scare you away the last time.
No, Jason almost did though.
My enthusiasm can be a little overwhelming sometimes.
The Geek in the North.
Guys,
thanks so much for having us.
Yeah, I'm excited. We've gotten to see each other at Gen Con, and you actually stopped over and handed me off something I've been taunting this to Jason before we went live. This was an amazing set of dice that you sent over to me, and you're like, "Hey, Doug, we got this Kickstarter coming. I think you're gonna like it. What?
We knew how much you loved 5e D&D, and we're like, this got Doug written all over it.
I'm not I will tell you. I blatantly say I don't play a whole lot of 5e. My friends play 5e, and I'll play 5e with them. But if you have a good product and a cool setting that I want to play in, you better believe that I'm picking up your product, and I'm going to play it, and I'm going to tell folks to pick it up, because we've seen that with other publishers on this show that I've featured products of. I'm very, very, very selective on 5e products, because there's just a glut out there. I could have a whole channel of just 5e products if I wanted to. I am very selective.
Yeah.
Right, Jason? Jason will tell you, I nitpick a lot of different things.
So do we, really. Yeah, we're pretty picky with our 5e stuff as well. If it's like third party, we'll play the classics. I think a lot of that has to do with like making this platform for other people that play D&D, and we need to understand like what's out there. But yeah, like I don't know. To your point, there's just so much out there that it's sometimes a little bit harder to disseminate between a really well done product versus something that from a certain publisher, anything you grab is going to be great.
Absolutely. And one of those publishers is Hit Point Press.
Yeah.
And I've got Humblewood. I love what they're doing with free RPG Day. They put out some quality, content for that. So when I heard that you all are collaborating with them for this line, I was just like, oh man, how did I miss this originally? And now that I see this Kickstarter is on this, for this other book, and you can get the existing products as well. Like, I hopped on this hard because I love it. Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks, Dad.
Yeah, it's been quite a labor of love, that's for sure. I mean, as you know, our primary thing is the platform, and I think early on we had this thought of we're trying to do so many different things with the platform, with transmedia, whether it's motion effects or ambient audio, or we've been playing around with these ideas of like situational music and things like that you can mix between different tracks. And we just always ran into these issues of needing to have our own content to experiment with. And so Aetherra was really this foray into like, let's make our own Super Mario for our Nintendo. Okay. And so, it's kind of taken on legs of its own and become this like series that we're building a small like audience around. And they're like, hey, yeah, we're ready for
small
book 2. I mean, humble beginnings. Our first campaign, I think there was 1,200 backers on that. And we're excited to watch that community grow, because we're not really spending a whole lot of time on it, because we're putting out this content and then we're focusing on Alchemy and growing Alchemy and, advertising that, and our social media is about Alchemy. And so we're excited to see people just kind of grab onto the setting and grab onto the production quality and be like, yeah, that's pretty cool. I want to follow that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been really great to watch the community grow and see all of the backers that we had from the Lost Druid come forward, come back out of the woodwork for Dark Symmetry. And it's been a lot of fun to step back into the world of content, because it's a mix up for us. I'm looking at numbers for the platform every day, and now I get to talk about an underwater city with elves that have AI. And it's a little bit more entertaining than making sure that my return on ad spend is good in Google Ads.
Sure.
That is.
If you want somebody to pay attention to that, get Doug on board, because he likes analytics like no one I've ever seen.
Yeah, that's I love
the amount of obscure facts he will just spew into our chaotic good chat is amazing. Some days I'm just like, how is this who even measures this? And all of a sudden there's like screen after screen of stats.
I thought you guys were kindred spirits.
Yeah, sure. I was going to say, I spent the past few days doing nothing but that for a meeting we had today. And I built out a little BI platform for us, and they're joking about it.
Love it.
Oh man, the things this guy gets excited about, I'm excited about it too, because he's showing numbers of how people are using things. But yeah, it's a real treat to be able to pop on and talk about like story fronts and like antagonists and protagonists, and how the story arc is going to play out, versus our normal meetings, which are always fun. So we're talking about product development and feature ideas, measuring engagement, whatever. So it is a real left brain, right brain thing for us.
Sure.
Definitely balancing that. And honestly, in so many different ways, even down to like how we structure the business. We've got really 2 different types of personnel in the business, and 2 different types of people that are working on the different things that we're creating. And so it's been really interesting to be a small company and working on 2 completely different types of things.
Yeah, I love that you're doing that, because I believe you're the only one that's doing that in this industry. You've got an online platform, and then you're creating your own publishing arm and creating content for that. It's super smart to kind of just keep people in that whole, I don't know, that whole ecosphere, I guess, of what you're creating. And I think that it is a really smart move on your behalf. And I'll be curious to see if there's anybody else that follows suit. and also kind of, I mean, we kind of seen it a little bit with fandom. Fandom kind of had their
Yeah.
own books and then created their own, and then of course they just got purchased by Direwolf. But anyway, we're not gonna. That's a plug. We won't talk about.
We're
them
not here to
in
talk
depth.
about that.
Right,
Doug.
exactly. But
Yeah.
I'm now my mind's just going miles a minute. Like, oh, I wonder who else could probably
See,
do that. But
his brain goes a mile a minute,
Oh,
and
it
my
does.
mouth
It
goes a
does.
mile a minute.
Exactly.
So that's why we do. That's why we go well together.
That's why you just locked in together.
But I mean, I've said this right along that this whole digital, online way of play is the future of this industry, and I
Yeah.
think it's super smart that you're realizing this, and you're also tapping into the whole, hey, we want to create content and we want to make we do want to put out books, but we want to make sure that we have our own kind of setting that people can play on our platform. So
Yeah, I mean, when we were starting Alchemy, we read the Lean Startup, and the Lean Startup said the best thing to do to grow your business is to fork it and work on two different things completely opposite of each other. And that's what we did. No, that's not what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to focus.
usually you go towards one goal, but hey,
That's in column B.
It's
And please
working
don't
for you
do this;
guys.
it'll go badly. Yeah.
Right. But no, I was coming from this world of Netflix and this idea of disrupting internet TV and challenging TV shows and movies for a new generation of people. And even still, we're seeing this very slowly change in Hollywood, how TV shows and movies are made, but also how they're positioned to people at mass. So, for example, we still release television content in seasons. Why? Like, we don't have like a fall season or a summer season or a spring season, a release cycle for that. Why are episodes still 22 minutes to bake 8 minutes of commercials into them? So it was Netflix saying, like, let's make our own content so we can kind of break some of these constructs of ancient Hollywood and start doing things like, all at once releases, or for like a mini series with 4 movie sized length shows in the set. Stranger Things season 4 is a great example of this.
Yeah,
it's like 4 movies basically that they dropped.
As someone who grew up in the era of 22-minute shows with commercial airing spots built into them, it's still to this day weird to me to watch something like Sandman or Stranger Things, and like I'm 30 minutes in and I'm like, it's going to be over any second, right?
Yeah.
And then another 25 minutes go by and I'm like,
end.
this is cool.
Yeah. For sure. And I think that, like, in TTRPGs, there's so many ways that we can challenge what's out there. I mean, we're living in a world that is very much made for physical books. Everything that we play online has been retrofitted from an InDesign file. But what if we were making it for digital first?
Yeah.
And so I think really what we're trying to do at Alchemy is challenge this notion of creating content for any specific medium, and instead creating what I call nucleus content, where it doesn't matter what medium it is. We're creating the content, we're creating the titles, and then we decide, if it's VTT, or if it's EPUB, or if it's physical, or if it's a booklet, or if it's multiple releases. That stuff doesn't really matter. Like, what matters and what matters to stay focused on is the content itself. And then when you're unbounded from those things, you can start thinking about, like, hey, maybe our crafting system it introduces different frequencies and tones from music, and you could, like, craft an item that can play these 4 or 5 different tones. If you're thinking about cardboard, you're not thinking, you're thinking about, how do we play these sounds, like, and you're limiting yourself by that. Instead of saying, like, the world is my oyster, any media type is something I can use, then you can do some pretty cool unbounded things.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's one thing that really shows with the platform, actually, like having the platform being built digitally, and then looking at the first content set for Lost Druid. It's insane to see how seamlessly integrated everything is and how well it works together, compared to a lot of platforms where it's like, oh, hey, if you want to put a text thing on the screen, well, we copy pasted this from a PDF and we put it in here, and then it's going to be all the format's going to be all janky. So you're going to have to fix that, and then you're going to have to find a way to display it to all your friends. Like, even to this day, I have a D&D group that meets every couple of weeks. we still play on Foundry, and my DM is constantly saying, hey, look in the Discord. I dropped something in the Discord. So having something like Alchemy out there where it's literally just, hey, show handout to players, click, poof, up it pops. It's gorgeous. It's seamless. Everyone gets to read it, and they can actually keep it if they want to.
Yeah.
Like, just it's the little things like that. Like, and not even including the way all the backgrounds can be animated and the music can blend in with everything. Just, you can tell that it was designed with that in mind because it's so easy to read. It's easy to scroll through. It's easy to click through. There's links everywhere.
Yeah.
The only content that I've seen that does this in any even close to that level was D&D Beyond.
Right.
With its books where you could click on anything and it would take you to another page. Yeah. But even that fails a lot of the time. Like there's lots of times when I'm trying to search for things in that platform and it shows me 7 screens of nothing that I wanted to read.
Yeah.
And I have yet to have that happen with any content for the Lost Druid at all.
Well, I'm hopeful that this is something that that Wizards of the Coast is working towards, this idea of nucleus content where they're not bound by books or D&D Beyond or any of the mediums in which they output it, because the customers aren't concerned with that. Customers want content and they want it to seamlessly load into the places that they enjoy and consume that content. And I think that with D&D 1 and this new distribution model of digital, thinking about digital from the get-go, I'm hopeful that we're going to have more seamless integrations like that with the virtual play environments that we're playing on. So that's really heartening for me to see. But I think one of the things I think about a lot in this community is, what about everybody else? Like, there's Wizards and they've got all this money and they've got all of this, I should have said money, but like resources, all this big team. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they do have money. They got a little bit of money. A little bit.
They're not broke.
Yeah. They're not hurting.
Yeah. I mean, it's difficult even for like a sizable publisher in the space that's really focused on, creating beautiful books, to think about putting their whole catalog into a custom wiki, hiring an engineering team to build something out that could feel like it was made for digital first versus retrofitted.
And you can tell when something has been retrofitted easily. Yeah, it is so unfortunately obvious. Like I have lots of PDFs for lots of games. I buy the physical copy and then I end up with the digital copy, even if I have to buy them twice. Sometimes I do it. But there's so many PDFs out there that are terribly formatted, that have no index, that have no searchability. And it is a slog because some of these books, because RPG books tend to be prolifically large, unfortunately, in a lot of cases, trying to search for things is just a nightmare. So like having something designed from the ground up to be digital, it shows in every aspect.
Right.
Yeah. I would love for Alchemy and many other digital platforms to come together and just kill the PDF.
Yeah, honestly,
right?
Or if somebody could develop a PDF converter that would make it that would index things for you, that person would be a billionaire.
Oh yeah. It's like TTRPGs in like the real estate market that keep PDFs afloat.
Exactly.
It's pretty wild. But I think that's, not to get on too much of a tangent, but that's one of the big things that I'm excited about with Alchemy is the opportunity of creating a universal marketplace for TTRPGs where, regardless of format, you can go to this one place and purchase anything you want for any format you want. So I know this is probably more of like a multiple year goal or strategy, but I'd love for people to go to Alchemy, click on Humblewood and either buy the game module, buy the PDF, or buy the book, or buy it all as a bundle. Because let's be real, like I've got a stack of books on my desk right now because I love books when I'm reading them by myself. When I'm playing with other people and I need to reference rules and click around in an outline, I'm certainly playing on Alchemy because that's what it's designed for.
Yeah.
But so, I love that idea of like just throwing out this idea of go to Amazon for your physicals, go to One Bookshelf for your PDFs, go to the virtual tabletop for, that side of it. And just, hey, I like Humblewood, or I like Alien. I'm going to go get Alien.
Well,
Mhm.
it's just like any kind of, when you're doing a point of sale, transaction, you want to capitalize on that one transaction as much as you can.
Yeah.
Because once you start segmenting it and making somebody go here for this
Yep.
and then here for
You
this,
lose people
you
fast.
lose a large part of your sale.
Yep.
So it
Mhm.
only would benefit publishers and designers and everything to kind of have a one-stop shop to get everything all at once. But
I've actually done that myself, where I've gone to a website and it's like, hey, you can buy the physical copy here. Okay, cool. And then it's like, oh, well, click onto our electronic side store to buy the PDF. I'm like, no.
Yeah.
Like, if you're not going to make this easy for me, I'm not going to give you my money. That's just the way it works.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't mind if it's like, hey, you buy the physical copy and we'll send you an email with a link to click on to get your PDF. That's fine. I don't mind that.
Mhm.
But if I have to click into another checkout screen to buy your PDF, no, sir.
Right.
Sorry.
See,
Not unless this is the best game I have literally ever played.
yeah, it's my catcher in the rye. I want it in every
Yeah,
format.
exactly. Yeah. And I have done that. I have several games where I have multiple formats for multiple systems on multiple platforms. I'm that guy. I'm that guy where if I'm a fan of your stuff, I will buy it wherever I can find it.
Well, Jason, you'll be happy to know we do have alternate covers available on the Kickstarter for Lore of Aetherra.
I
Dark
already
Symmetry.
bought them.
let's
I guess y'all talking about why we're here. Huh?
Yeah, 21 minutes in, and let's talk about why we're all
Let's
here.
talk about why we're actually here. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
This Kickstarter for the second book because I'll tell you what, at the Ennies and at Gen Con, all I heard was how amazing the quality of the book was, how great the first book was. And so I really felt like I missed out. I left Gen Con feeling like, oh man, these guys are making some cool stuff. And I didn't even know that they were putting out this really cool, 5e setting in adventure, saga. Like I kind of want to find a copy of that. And now you're like, and then Ash was like, well, we got a Kickstarter coming up in, a few weeks. I'm like, oh, okay, well, I'll just jump on that. So can you tell us a little bit about what this Kickstarter is funding and what you're trying to do with it?
I'm going to hand this to Asher because this has really been Asher's brainchild for the last several months. And man, this guy's done such an amazing job. I don't know if y'all have ever done a Kickstarter, but it's a lot of work. It's so much work. On top of that, running a business for this digital platform, on top of that, building a creative team around it who are actually going to write it, illustrate it, edit it, game design it. And that's really been Asher. And so, I mean, when this happened, I was like, Asher, what are we doing? Like, tell me what graphics I need to make. And so, Asher, what do we have here?
What do we got going on?
God, that was a huge buildup. Let's see if I can deliver on that.
No pressure, though.
I think actually we probably blacked this out of our memory because we stayed up for like a collective 2 days straight on a call and put this together.
Yeah, I got 2 hours of sleep, and Chris didn't sleep the night before this Kickstarter went live.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so Lore of Aetherra Dark Symmetry is the second book in the Lore of Aetherra series. It is science fantasy, and it's set in... This is a setting and adventure, and what we really wanted to create was something very open world. So our first book, The Lost Druid, this is the one that got nominated for the Ennie cover. It's a nice little soft touch. I love holding this book, and I'm a little biased, but I do love it. The first book was a pretty straightforward adventure set in the city of Fano, in the middle of a lake, and without giving anything away, it takes you through that city. You're on a mission to find the Lost Druid. Once we move over to Dark Symmetry, you are in the underwater city of Chrysalea. So it's been cut off from the rest of civilization for 1,000 years. It is full of it's a technocracy that is hell-bent on this idea of continual scientific progress. And it's a technocracy and a meritocracy in a lot of ways, because it is all about what you can provide in terms of scientific innovation to the society. But there's a lot of really kind of strange things happening. There are a lot of rumors. There's a lot of civil unrest surrounding a lot of this scientific progress. And so we're really excited about it. We've unlocked the stretch goal for all of the subclasses and player background options. So we will have 12 subclasses for it. Player options and backgrounds. We'll have ether crafting. So this whole kind of setting focuses around this sort of element that you learn a lot more about in the campaign setting called ether. And it is the sort of primary driver of technology in Chrysalea. And it is almost magic. And so there's a lot that has to do with that in the book. And the adventure itself is kind of engineered to be open world, kind of Strahd-like, if you will.
Nice. Okay.
You're able to sort of navigate through each of these individual habitats. Because if you saw in that setting picture that was up a moment ago, there's this sort of large dome city in the middle. And then there are little habitats surrounding it, and each of those is a part of the city. But it is, they each have their own personality, their own goals, their own drivers, and their own machinations. It is, if you are a horror fan, there are a non-trivial amount of sort of like horror elements, like sci-fi type horror. There's some really kind of strange things happening with the technology. There may or may not be, an AI that's gone rogue. There may or may not be weird experiments happening in other places. And it should be a lot of fun for people to kind of uncover those secrets in their own way or in the adventure itself. And so it's a really great follow-up to the Lost Druid. And we have the Nova Rail. You can get the PDF of this for free on the Kickstarter page. And it is I love this art that we had done. Shout out to our cover artist for everything, Jeff Langevin. Of course, I grabbed like the rattiest version that I had.
It's like a box full of garbage next to him.
About an arm's reach for me, and I just grabbed the dirty one that's on my desk. Forgive the potential coffee stains. But that PDF also has it has a full adventure in and of itself. And there's voiceover that goes with it. There's music that goes with it. And it's also on the Alchemy platform, of course. And so from a rewards perspective, we have, when we released The Lost Druid, it was a great Kickstarter. We had a lot of fun. It was a great book to make. It was smaller than this one will be. So we surpassed our funding goal in 3 days with Dark Symmetry. So we beat the funding of The Lost Druid.
Awesome.
3 days after we started Dark Symmetry. Yeah. So huge success in that way. And we wanted to make sure that people who aren't familiar with The Lost Druid, because, we're a small company, like 5 people had something to do with that book, and they were all outsiders to the industry. So we wanted to make sure that people that weren't familiar with The Lost Druid could back in Dark Symmetry and get, everything there was to offer. So from a rewards perspective, we've got a bunch of Dark Symmetry stuff. I'll share all that, but I actually have most of the Lost Druid stuff literally sitting right in front of me. So
nice.
We've got the book, and we have this in a standard cover and a limited edition cover. We've got the dice that Doug showed off recently.
Can you open those up? Let's
do not open that box.
Oh, I'm like I tossed it. Oh my god, these are amazing. Who made these, by the way?
I can never say it. Cerebrus. Yeah.
They're amazing.
Yeah. So hand polish, sharp edge. I'm
gonna beat you up if I find you for those dice, just so you know.
Oh, absolutely.
You're not gonna see it coming. It's just gonna be, you're gonna get tackled, and then there's gonna be no dice. That's all.
Well, if you come to Gamehole Con,
Well, I mean, I backed at the Openda level, so I'm getting them anyway. But
Right.
I mean, if you're gonna wave dice in front of me, I'm gonna take them.
Yeah.
and we've also got them for Dark Symmetry too. So the Lost Druid has that sort of blue
those are
aesthetic, and Dark Symmetry
look at that.
has like an
Shiny
orange,
math rocks.
red.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're pretty excited about that. And Chris, I mean, I love music. Who doesn't love music? But Chris is an insane music nerd. And so we also are one of the few people who make vinyl for our books. So you'll be able to grab this vinyl, and it's hand splattered. You can see some of the striations in the art, which I really think is in the disc, which I think is pretty rad.
That's so cool.
This is actually 2 disc, and Chris can get really nerdy with it, but it's 2 disc, 180 gram vinyl, 33 RPM.
You're doing great, man. Look at you.
And we are doing the same thing with Dark Symmetry with kind of a red color scheme to match everything. I like everything.
I love that that's a thing. I don't own a record player, but I love that this is a thing that people are doing.
Oh,
now
yeah.
more commonly now. It's just such a neat little thing.
You know, back when music was physical, it was so fun to collect it. Even if you didn't listen to it all the time, to have a CD collection with the liner notes. And that was one of the things we were so excited about with our records is they're double gatefold. So they open up and you got your 2 discs that slide in, but there's also an insert that slides out and it's 8 pages. And so we were like, there's no lyrics to our music. There's no like band photos. Like what should we put in this, in these liner notes? And so we came up with this idea, Jesse Ribordi, the creator of Aetherra and us, we came up with this idea of doing what we call Nocturne Variation. And it's a guide to fine Aetheran instrumentation. So inside are 8 different magic items that are fully mechanized for 5e, but they're musical instruments within the world of Aetherra. And so inside there's sort of these Da Vinci type drawings of like schematics and things for instruments like the Dusty Holland, which are, fictitious instruments that we've created. And it's just a really cool like insert that's like, brings you back to the gaming aspect of it. But for us, the books are a physical analog for the content we're creating. And in that same way, the music is just as important. I mean, there's over 2 hours of music, as much as you could fit on a double disc, vinyl. We've created so much music for both the Lost Druid. We're creating just as much for Dark Symmetry. And, our kind of creative mind behind all this, Jesse, he's a composer and a screenwriter. He had never actually created any content for tabletop role-playing games, never really played tabletop role-playing games at all. And that was kind of this intentional choice from the beginning. Was I had toured in bands with Jesse, and we'd kind of met many, many years ago playing in bands together. And he was just the most creative guy that I'd ever met, and still is, really. I remember at night on the tour bus, he would tell the craziest, like completely false stories, and just have people like eating out of the palm of his hand. He was a great storyteller. And I was like, oh man, I need a storyteller. I need someone who knows this stuff. And Jesse was so great because he writes, and then he writes music, and then he writes music that he writes to, and it kind of goes back and forth, and he inspires himself in a way. And it creates this really interesting symbiosis of like music and writing, and music and writing. And that was just perfect for the transmedia environment of Alchemy to integrate music and the writing. So anyway, huge part of what we do is the music.
I love it.
Absolutely hilarious to me how quickly we are running in opposite directions. We've got this digital platform that is bespoke and is really forward thinking, and we have hand pressed vinyl.
I mean,
it's just a cool thing, though. I mean,
it's a cool.
It really is.
You know what it does is it shows that you know your audience. Because like that's a thing right now with the tabletop RPG like segment. Like a lot of them are really into vinyl, and like it's
made a massive comeback actually in recent years.
And so like it's not. I mean, in the way that you've been able to kind of take that and then form that into your whole product line and tie it into everything, I think that's genius.
The number of older people that I know that swear to this day that vinyl still sounds better than any other source of.
It's so warm, Jason. It's so warm.
I'm not arguing. I had a record player. I had all kinds of albums as a kid. I'm that old, so I mean,
right.
I can't. I find CD quality, I think, is honestly a little better. I don't know. I don't know. I don't hear the difference. I really don't.
Nothing will beat putting that CD into your Honda Civic and rolling the windows down. I don't know, smoking a cigarette or something at like 18 years old.
I grew up in 8-track land, so there you go.
Okay.
Yeah, I had the cassette tape deck that you had to like put you put the adapter into the cassette deck to play the CD player in your car. Yeah, that's
weird. I still don't know how that works. That is a weird piece of machinery.
It's magic.
But a pretty ingenious piece of technology.
It's science and magic together. There you go.
I had one of those that plugged into a Discman, and then you pop that Discman, and just try not to hit any speed bumps. And you're
because it only had like 4 times oversampling, and it would skip. And
exactly. I think what it is. I think what it is with our stuff, though, like the common thread between you got digital over here and then vinyl way over here and dice, is that we like making cool shit. Like
I mean
high quality. Like I mean,
right.
To the point
that's where it makes a huge difference when you're doing quality. You can make accessories. Anyone can make an accessory. It has to be quality.
Right.
And this goes back to my original statement. Like I'm very selective on and like this is cool stuff.
Cool stuff.
Like if you're looking for cool 5e content, like I don't think you get much cooler than this stuff.
Honestly, I have not yet seen a setting that had science and technology meshed together so well at the core of the world building. Because like most often you see like people with artificers in their campaigns, it's like, there's this kingdom off in the far west, east, south, north, whatever direction, underground, I don't care. Isolated from the world, and artificers suddenly start appearing everywhere. And I'm like, that is not entirely impossible, but it's really kind of cheap. So having it right out of the gate, like, and everyone knows about it. It's not a state secret, it's not completely unknown to the world. It's a normal everyday thing. And having it baked in from the beginning of the setting is one of the reasons why I backed this at the level that I did to get the original content as well. Like, I mean, I already have it all on Alchemy, but having that already set up like that, so the DM doesn't have to do any work. It's like, why? How did this guy manage to get into this world? Like, is there any reason why he should be here? Like, no, but I mean, with this world, you don't have to worry about any of that. Like, you can just see him on the street corner, whatever. Who cares?
And that well, I think what you're explaining is really interesting because, man, when we started working on this, especially without game designers who are veterans in the space creating tabletop games, it is very difficult to write a story where your main protagonist is someone that hasn't rolled a character yet. You're building this open-ended story that has to be able to go in many different directions. And, I had developed a completely new respect and understanding for narrative designers and people that design or write stories for video games and things like that, because in every different nexus, there's 5 different directions. If it's a good game, that the players could go. The players could go the bad way or the good way. They can be the heroes or the villains, and you have to provide enough for the game master to be able to take that and run with it in that direction. And that was something that I think we were still really trying to figure out with the Lost Druid. And so in a lot of ways, that is a very linear story. And then we kind of solved that by putting, we put a ton of extra lore and content in the back of that book, like different side quests that you can plant in the world and spin off on, found in-world lore books that you can find in a bookshop and QR code to your players, and they could read it between game nights. That really just helped bring more color to the world. But with
first time that happened, I was just like,
That's so cool. Skyrim, like, I mean, I love the idea that in Skyrim, I find a book and I'm sitting there like an hour later reading a book in the game.
I'm the guy trooping around through World of Warcraft who's like, oh, a book.
Yeah.
Pause. The whole, like, I'm with like 5 other people in a group. No. Hang on.
Is that guy AFK? No, he's reading a book.
Then like 6 weeks later, I'm like, I know the lore of this place. I'm going to explain it to you all in very great detail while you're not even paying attention. I'm that guy. This right here. I'm that guy.
Yeah. I mean, then this is for you for sure. And because I mean, I think that's what's really different about Lore of Aetherra is that it is so lore rich. And that was really what we wanted to do was, create a massive open world without starting with the encyclopedia.
Yeah.
When people create these games, they'll say, okay, well, the first thing we're going to put in the book is the theocracy and the the system of governance, and these are all the animals, and this is the flora and fauna.
And you know what happens? People are like, flip.
Yeah.
Flip. Oh, this is the good stuff. Finally.
Yeah. Versus like, how did you learn about, all of the different, constructs of Lord of the Rings? Like you started with The Hobbit and you just started reading the story about Bilbo and discovering everything about elves and the world of men and Middle Earth and all that stuff by the story. Yeah. And so the Lost Druid, I think the setting content is like 5 pages in the beginning. It's just barely enough to get you oriented to the geography and the constructs. And then the rest of it just explores story. And I think that we're trying to balance that out a little bit more with Chrysalea in the second book. We're going to do like 1/3 of it will be setting information. But that's just because this is going to be more open world. Like Asher was saying, akin to Strahd. Like Strahd's one of my favorite adventures because, you get whisked away to Barovia through the mist. And you're in this place, and if you want to, you can march your way right up to Castle Ravenloft and challenge Strahd to a duel as a level 5, D&D guy. You're gonna
a level
die.
5 dead man. Yeah,
yeah, exactly. But you have that optionality, and I think that makes the world so real, and it puts so much skin on it. And so I've always really loved that about Strahd.
Anytime your players realize they're not on rails is a good time.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yep.
So let's talk a little bit about the books themselves, how big they're going to be. You've already got the first one, so you can tell you have a definite page count for the first book.
He's looking.
Yeah.
I didn't have to look. It's 264 pages.
I was going
to say, there's no way you don't know how big that book is.
It's 264 pages.
That's a good sized book.
Yeah. We're planning on the next one being around 300.
Wow.
I mean, with the Lost Druid, we said it was going to be 200 and it was 264. We'll see if we're any better at estimating this time around. I have a sneaking suspicion we will not be.
Yeah. It depends on stretch goals too, right?
Pages.
It does, yeah, definitely on stretch goals for sure.
Stretch goals, especially with role-playing supplements. Stretch goals is what always makes your book bigger.
Sure.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Now go ahead.
I was just gonna say, speaking of stretch goals, I'm a big fan of like, and I apologize ahead of time to Asher for this, but like, I'm a big fan of getting online and talking about all of our secrets and all the things that we really want to do if we hit certain stretch goals, things like that, and committing us to things before we can actually do them.
Sure.
But one of there's a stretch goal on here. Asher and I came up with this idea when we were thinking about creating special editions of the book, because this was something that we had never done before, because we created our standard edition as a special edition, as a ribbon bookmark. It has 80 pound silk coated paper. It's got laminate soft touch vinyl with UV spot gloss and gold foil inlay, all the things that you would see in a special edition cover. And so I was like, man, I really don't want to do just an alternate cover that's like, a gold stamp on it or something, but it's all the same guts on the inside. And Asher is Brad from Monetization, and Brad saying, dude, people buy the alternate covers.
Yeah.
And
I'm a person that does that. It's not like hey, let's take advantage of people.
Yeah. I mean, if you want to see two guilty people, they're sitting right above you on the screen.
Yeah.
There you go. Yep, I got that.
Main book.
If there is a fancy cover option, I am signing on the dotted line.
1,000%.
Okay, so with that, you got the new cover, but the inside is the same. And I was like, actually, you know what we should do? We should do something that's just a completely new edition of the book. So we have this stretch goal. I forget what number it's at, and we might hit it, or we might be trending towards it. But the idea is dark. The idea is dark mode, where basically the inside of the book would all be completely reverse type. So instead of white pages with black text, it would all be black pages with white text and completely like stealth moded out.
Sort of like the Alien RPG books, actually. A little bit.
Yes.
There's so much black ink went to the printers. Wow.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Very, 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 very. They even smell different because there's just so much ink.
Oh, absolutely. I was going to mention
so
that.
much.
If you do that, you're going to have to like leave them out and make sure don't put them all in your office at one time, because
don't read this book in a closed room, otherwise you're going to end up on the floor.
Right. But I mean, I'm like the black on black, everything dark. I just love I love spot gloss and this idea of everything on my screens being dark, and I love picking up a really well designed book with great pages like Alien and thumbing through it. It's just so moody, especially for that artwork. That artwork just pops off. And so I was like, we should do that. And Ash was like, yeah, we should do that. And we're going to gild the pages to be the color that matches. But anyway, I'm really hopeful that we hit that stretch goal. I think dark mode for the book would be something that would be really cool for people.
Not to sidetrack, but StreamYard, are you listening? Give me a freaking dark mode for this thing. All of this white screen garbage is not good.
It's lighting up the face, which I guess is good, but like,
well, that's the thing. If I click away from the screen, it literally changes the light on my face.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Speaking of art, like the art and that you have going on is also very, very incredible and tremendous. And can we give a shout out to the artists or artists? Yes, there's multiple because I feel like artists in general with tabletop RPGs are very under appreciated.
Underrepresented, that's for sure.
Yeah, exactly. And to be honest with you, that sells a lot of books. The quality of the art. Yep. So
that's a great point.
This is right up there. So do you want to acknowledge your artists that you've working on, or you're working with this project?
So we worked a lot with this guy for the Lost Druid as well. So he's kind of helped us really envision the world of Aetherra. But his name is Stu Harrington. And Stu is one of the lead artists at Hi-Res Studios. They make the game Smite. So he does a lot of the Smite splash art. Yeah, and it was when I was like learning how to art direct, man, I think I sent 150 emails, pissed a lot of people off because I was just trying to figure out how to like.
Why is this guy writing us so hard?
Yeah, exactly. Like, he wants it tomorrow for $150. This is an environment, So yeah, I was learning the ropes, and finding Stu was so incredible because Stu helped me learn, and he kind of helped me understand the difference between character art, environmental art, creating art for mographs or motion graphics at the end when we actually animate everything. And so Stu has been amazing at that, and he's done all of our characters. He's done now he does a lot of our environments as well. And whether he's the original artist or not, everything's going through him, and so he's actually making a consistent look and feel for everything. Very cool. So Stu is our art director, but one of the interesting things, we hired Leon Tucker to do our environments, and he did a lot of our environments in our last book as well. But Leon is interesting because he does everything in Blender as a base. So everything is done in 3D, and then he will create a full like 3-dimensional world in VR, which is really interesting that you can kind of go in and model, and then he'll like freeze frame things or screenshot things, and then he'll do paint overs on it. So for the
neat idea.
Cool.
Yeah. So for the world of Chrysalea, we have a 3D model of the entire city, which is really, really impressive. Wow. It's huge. And so at this point,
has?
Maybe, yeah. Actually, we should STL this or something, right?
Yeah, you should.
Yeah, I love that idea.
Maybe we should.
So So yeah, so Leon has created the city. We have the ability now from any angle, any portion of the city we want, we can kind of capture that, and then we'll take that, and Stu is often doing these paint overs for us on top of that, which saves an artist a ton of time.
Sure.
Yeah, no
without
kidding.
having to compose or worry about lighting and stuff like that. Let the computer do that, and then go in and hand paint everything.
I'm the nerdy GM who would use a 3D representation of the city that my players are in to describe weather effects and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like I'd be like, okay, I'm going to look at the city from the northeast, you know, from this angle at this height at sunset, and say, okay, you can't see in this alley because the shadows from the light are obscuring this. So someone could be hiding there. That would be me. That would be my thing.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things we're excited about. We've been talking about like playing a little bit more with 3D stuff. Like there are so many STL files that people have on their computer, but you know,
and everybody has a 3D printer these days.
Sure, yeah. But with this book, we've been asking ourselves like, hey, what's the one thing we want to do with this book that pushes the platform? And we've been talking a lot about tactical maps and things like that, because I'm not a huge battle map fan. But I recognize the utility of tactical mode, especially in 5e. It's a war game. Everything is written for 5e or 5 foot squares.
Yeah. Everything's designed for 5 foot squares. Yep.
Yeah. So we've been talking about this idea of instead of creating battle maps for everything that are like these big 30 by 30s or something, why don't we create like little terrain packs or prop packs that we can put into a folder for every scene. So on Alchemy, you pop open this scene and then you've got like, you know, the portal and the bookshelf and maybe that room that you need that's at the bottom of the basement. And you just plop those on top of your scene. Just kind of how tactical mode works in Alchemy. You can kind of place tokens on top of your first person scene there. So that's one of the things we've been talking about doing for this versus creating big battle maps.
I like that because it gives something to the people who like tactical combat without forcing a ton of work on you guys. Like you get other platforms like Roll20 and Foundry that have ridiculous integration for that sort of thing. And yeah, if you want to get into the crazy deep details of it, you can make a really amazing map, but it's going to take you a friggin' long time. So being able to go into Alchemy and say, okay, I don't need to have, you know, the fanciest fancy that ever fancied. I just need a tactical map so I can put tokens on it so that I can show my players roughly where everything is, so that because we're using D&D rules, they can say, okay, I'm like one turn of movement away from this bad guy if I want to attack him. So you can, the people that aren't very good with theater of the mind then can look at that map and say, okay, this makes sense to me now. Because there's always somebody in every group who's like, oh, I thought I was closer, or I didn't realize this was here, or I would do something differently because I didn't know about XYZ, you know? Yeah. So having a really simple tactical map just to allow you to represent distances and relative locations is perfect. I don't need anything more than that. Like I have Foundry and I love Foundry and I fool around with Foundry all the time. Yeah. But for me to make a scene in Foundry takes a week.
Right.
A week easy. If I'm not using someone else's imported map.
You're opening a can of worms with me right now, Jason. You've said so many, there's so many sound bites in there that I just want to like highlight. I think early on when we were making Alchemy, not to take this back to Alchemy, but the idea was theater of the mind. The idea was exercise the mind, don't automate it. So don't give me every single square of what I should be seeing. But you know, it's the game of the imagination. And so exercise that and utilize these different tools to take me to this state of deep multisensory immersion. And so when I think about when I thought about maps in the beginning, I was like, man, let's get rid of this and get people into this immersive state. And I got this feedback once that like really made me stop in my tracks. And it was, you're not creating a very inclusive gaming environment because not everyone is a fantastic storyteller. Not everyone has this mind that is just so high fidelity.
And some people just aren't listening when you say stuff like that either.
Yeah. Some people need that map or they need to be able to visualize that log is there and there's a thing there and there's that. Yeah. And so
that's one of the things I like about your guys' descriptions actually in encounters and stuff like that when you get into Foundry or get into Alchemy rather. the encounter descriptions aren't huge.
Right.
They're 3 to 4 lines, sometimes just a tad more. So you're not bombarding people with, oh, the grass is green. This log over here is brown and it's got vines growing on it. There's something shining through the ceiling. The floor's weird over here. There's a chair this way. There's a hobbit on a log, whatever. By the time people have listened to your whole description, they're like, wait, what was the beginning again?
Yeah. Why are we here?
So yeah, just having nice, concise descriptions and then the ability, if you need it, to throw in a tactical map is great.
Yeah, I mean, and the idea of doing pieces was actually a way of getting around this idea of fog of war, or having to do dynamic lighting on a map, or to fog a map, or to do locked doors and walls, because that's the part that's sometimes really fun to do, but it's a lot of work and you can't do it on the fly. Nope. And so I'm like,
and one mistake can screw it up for everyone.
Oh, for sure. But I love this idea of being able to drop a room in your theater of the mind platform like Alchemy, and then be able to show and hide that room, or to be able to say, oh, we're in a town and my players have gone completely off book, as they always do. I'm going to find in my toy box of goodies a potion shop, or a caravan, or a camp, and you can pull that out and plop it onto the tactical and have some kind of a tactical combat that measures relative distance and orientation, which is all you need.
And that's where the other virtual tabletops fail hard. There's only a top-down tactical map ever.
Yeah.
And my D&D group, we do Foundry all the time, and I like it for the combat. I like it for the moving around on the board, but it is pointless otherwise. Mm-hmm. When we get into a role-playing thing, 45, 50 minutes go by and we're all role-playing, and still on my screen is the aftermath of the last combat, where all our tokens are just static sitting there, and I'm like, okay, this is literally a whole screen while I'm at my computer of nothing that I want to look at.
Right.
So in Alchemy, you click off the tactical map and you're back to this nice, evocative, animated sometimes background with some nice ambiance music playing lightly in the background while you're role-playing. That is perfect. It's fun to look at.
Yeah, Asher walked us through a Coriolis game last night. We just kicked it off, and it was so much fun. Like, I love that game.
Great game.
He's a little biased.
Fantastic game. Immediately wildly off book.
Awesome. Those are the best.
Yeah.
There is no way to stay on book in Coriolis. There's just no way.
I thought we hit some magic last night. There was some good stuff in there.
Last night, the party just watched 400 hot dogs fly into space through a hole in the ship. It was beautiful.
I actually giggled to myself this morning in the shower thinking about a hot dog sucking out of a rugby-sized hole in the ship wall and go.
Absolutely. I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
But also really intuitive, like, system. I think I spent maybe 20 minutes making actions in Alchemy, and I can roll my whole character sheet. I mean, because we don't officially support Coriolis, but we have a basic action system yet. And we were able to make that like pretty easily. And Asher's been pulling in different tables into the handouts and things like that. And then on the baseline, you've got a journal and a dice roller and the scenes and the music and all that stuff. And I didn't feel like we were limited by anything last night. It was actually really a cool experience.
Yeah. I was only limited by my ability to find a space food court.
Yeah.
And that's where there's a lot of the people that do virtual tabletop maps for various platforms are coming out now with asset packs.
Yeah.
Which are just images that you can use in your own maps if you want to. Like, they take their own assets that they use to create their maps and say, oh, you know what? People actually want these just for their own use. So if they want to continue the theme of my map, which has like really weird, unique looking walls, you can make your own additional map. Just drag and drop. You want a wall here, a wall here, a wall here, a door there, a little incline there, whatever.
Yeah.
That sort of thing is really where a lot of virtual tabletops could shine a lot more, is by having just like as you would at home. You have your big Tupperware tote full of random monsters because the party's always going to do something weird, and you just I'll just grab this out of here, drop it on there, draw a couple of lines here for them, boom, you're done. And it still looks good. It's not just squiggles on a dry erase board like most of us did when we were playing old school D&D.
What's funny is that's usually enough, but
you don't need much more.
Yeah. we can elevate that to just one more level.
Just get away from the squiggles on the map and have actual, tokens, I guess you could call them, but they're all tokens technically.
Right.
But that is how you keep your players engaged. It's stuff like that, because they're going to look at that and be like, "Oh, how did you do that? How did you know we were going here?" And you, as a DM, you're just like, "Yeah, boy, here we go." That's the magic moment for the DM, when they're all just like, "Yes, okay, I've got them now."
Yeah. Anywho.
Anyway, we're approaching the hour mark, and I think before we started we said 30 minutes, and we'll keep this 30. But of course, I
got another hour in me. You guys got
I know you
do,
Jason. and we're gonna have the guys back on to chat again here soon. I'm sure they've got plenty of other announcements that they've got coming up. Even just with Alchemy and not just Lore of Aetherra. Now, before we sign off, I do want to head back to the Kickstarter one more time. Now, the expected delivery date is June of next year.
Yeah, you got it.
That's a very short turnaround time. That's and you think even with the stretch goals and all of that, that's still attainable?
Yeah, absolutely. I honestly, maybe this is hubris, but we got book 1 delivered really early, and
Right.
I am very naturally the type of person who will underpromise. I will tell you that I'm an idiot that has no idea what they are doing, and just come out of nowhere, and you're like, "Oh wow, that guy actually might know a little bit," and then you think more highly of me. So I'm very much a fan of under promising and over delivering, and I'm still confident that this will get done June of next year.
Too many Kickstarters do it the other way around, and it's bad.
Yep.
Well, we have an amazing team, and that's on the Kickstarter page as well. We've got Amy Vorpahl is writing on this.
Yes, I saw that.
Yeah, and
I am a fan.
She's a powerhouse of just incredible creativity and ideas. And we've got HTT Paladin working on the game design. We've got the team from the
person I follow.
Yep. The team from the previous book, in Jesse Rabordi and Gabe Davis, and I'm in there messing stuff up and telling people like, "Oh, you didn't introduce that to the user yet, so we got to do this and we got to do that," and just crushing everybody. And Asher, of course, is very involved in the production of this as well. So,
how do you pronounce? I have one question. How the heck do you pronounce? Where is his name or their name? I'm not even sure if it's
Iron is what you're thinking, probably.
Iron. No. You have a quote from them.
In the Lost Druid.
No, it's on the Kickstarter page.
Oh,
it's CZEPEKU.
Cheyenpeku.
That's how you say that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Jepeku.
Okay. I have a couple of their map packs actually on Alchemy that I picked up.
Awesome.
I like the way, like, there's the scene map, and then the top-down map is available, and it's actually just the top-down version of the scene map.
Yeah,
that is really cool. I like that a lot.
Yeah. We actually had those two environments made. Stu made those environments for those maps. And we want to do a whole lot more of those with them as well. But we actually have a couple other creators too we're bringing onto the platform that do that. One artist, Mark Drummond J, he does a lot of really fantastical environments that match his maps. And now that we just recently launched phased maps that allow you to do multiple maps in one scene, we're going to be putting that out pretty soon. So that's an exciting one to look for. But Che and Peku are beautiful people, wonderful human beings that are incredibly talented at making maps. They just launched a new project called Hyperdrive Fleet, which is all spaceships.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of that. Because I play a lot of Mothership and stuff like that, so I need that. That has to be in my life.
It's for sure good.
It's amazing.
It's so annoying that you can never find decent maps for space stuff.
Yeah,
you get a couple of people who do it, and that's it.
Right. Well, it works really cool for Alchemy too, because it's a spaceship and there's no background, so you can just drop it right on top of your scenes.
Yeah.
So when you go to tactical in Alchemy, it blurs out the scene and you can drop your tactical top down. And then they have the different phases where you can pop the lid off of it, essentially, and see the cockpit and the different quarters. And then you can go to a different phase where you can go, to floor 2. Some of them are animated, which are incredible. There's one called what is it? Asher, is it Squiggles Cafe or Squiggies?
Squeggis, something.
It's like a space diner.
Nice.
It's rad, and there are different phases where they'll do like the standard edition, and then there's like red alert. So things are kind of crazy. There's alarms.
Yeah.
And then they have this phase that they do for most of their maps called Whoops. And it's like an exploded ship or this exploded diner. And there's just pieces kind of floating in space. And I don't know, it's amazing. Check it out.
Awesome. Yeah.
We're trying so hard to like not focus on our Kickstarter, talk about everything else. And Doug's like, hey.
I mean, that's, hey. Y'all are doing some really cool stuff.
You can't have me on the show and expect to stay on target.
That's true too. I just blame this guy right here. Right? That's
on target.
Yeah, no, there's no targets are for suckers.
But y'all are doing some really cool stuff and making some really cool products, and in all sorts of different formats. I'm going to tell folks that if you haven't already checked out Alchemy, go check it out. I think I'm put the link to.
He's trying to end the show.
Online, I am. I mean, it's we're already like almost an hour and 10 minutes.
Oh, I know. Now I'm on a roll, Doug.
But guys, keep doing it, man. You're just
please.
crushing it. I love seeing people succeed in this industry. I love seeing creative people come in and just put out.
This is probably the best platform that I have seen come out in years, ever. Honestly, it's so easy to use and it's so seamless to work with. It's just awesome. Cannot recommend it enough.
I said this with the last time you were on. I love it when people come in and they just want to shake things up and do things new and be like, you know what? I know this is the way it's always been done. Let's do something different.
Yeah.
And you guys are doing something different as well as just making really high quality stuff. And I can't. Well,
it means so much to be like seen in that. And that sounds so weird to say that, but like we have some really tough days. Today was a tough day. And sometimes you stop and you say like, you know what, let's not do content or let's just do it. Let's just put it out the way everyone else does. Why are we going such a long way around on this? Why are we struggling so hard? Or why are we paying so much for that artwork? And it's so encouraging to have people see that and say, hey, I backed the Kickstarter and I did it because of what you're doing. Because oftentimes we'll crawl into our heads and be like, they don't care. They don't care about the bookmark or the design there.
I mean, I've been doing this for 5-6 years now, and just being a content creator, and there are. I mean, I have ups and downs, and I can totally relate to that. There are days where I'm just like, why am I I'd spend like days on a piece of content, and like it just doesn't hit for some reason, and you're like, why am I doing this? Like, what? Just screaming into the void, and you know what? What you do is you take that experience and you use it and have it form the next phase of what you're going to do and figure out, okay, well, this didn't work. Why didn't this work? How's this going to impact and make the next thing that we're going to do a success? And I mean, we could just go in on a whole other hour on just that, because I love talking about.
I told you, I'm good to go, man. Yeah. Just let me know.
We're here whenever, Doug. Anytime you want to chat. This is the one. This is the one interview that I wouldn't have canceled tonight. everybody, if it was anybody else, I'd have been like, I'm sorry, today was a day. I'm not doing it.
I greatly appreciate that. I know we all have days like that, so I'm glad that we're all. Plus, it's just nice to talk with you guys. Like, it's good to get your friends together and just chat about fun stuff.
The spirit, man. Reinvigorates the passion for what we're doing.
And this is what I tell my friends when we do conventions, because I have some friends that do conventions. They're like, "Oh my god, we're doing another convention." I'm like, "Dude, look at this. Look at where we're at.
Yeah,
we're making fun for people.
Yeah,
like that's literally our jobs.
Mm-hmm.
Like we get to create fun we get to create a way for people to escape their everyday lives for a few hours and just do something different and get out of what they're doing. Like that's a special place to be. Like a bad day doing that. Like, come on, man. Like, you know, I'll take a bad day over that over a good day sitting in a corporate job, like, you know, behind a screen and a desk, like having to like deal with your middle management trying to tell you that you're doing your job wrong. Because we've all had those crappy ass jobs.
Right.
I work in an ER, so coming home to stuff like this is literally the best thing ever.
Right. Yeah. And it's funny you say that, because I mean, I think I know I definitely went through this thing in my career where I was like, man, I should get out of, I was in music. I should get out of music. I should do something meaningful that really, you know, helps people in different ways, like an ER job. Or at the time I went to go work at Google on search. I was like, man, if someone can Google how to build a well in Uganda, that's changing the world. That's doing something amazing. And then the more I started seeing that, like, there's so much that happens mentally. We're at a real mental health crisis in the world. And I think things like, you know, escapism has always been a wonderful thing in movies and film and all of that. And that's amazing to help somebody see a world, or see a different world, rather, when their own is so bad. And for me, growing up as a kid and with a single mom and all the things I had going on in that life, to be able to escape to sci-fi and fantasy was, I don't know if I'd be here if I didn't have that. But when I discovered role-playing games and the ability to connect with your friends, especially through tragedy or pandemics or, you know, political strife, everything crashing down in the world, to be able to get on, drink a few beers, tell a stupid story with your friends and laugh, that is like a whole nother world. And to be able to manufacture that, stories or the tools that help people tell their own stories, you're absolutely right, Doug, that there's no more fulfilling job than to be able to do that.
And
very lucky.
And fun is the best coping mechanism you can have, I think.
No, for sure.
And it's hard because, you know, you connect with people and you don't always see that there's that connection happening until you're actually like that. That's one reason why I love doing conventions. Because I like to go out there and like getting feedback from people, like actually face to face, and then they're like, oh yeah, you know what? There are people that are consuming my content. There are people that are playing games that I've suggested, and they'll come up to me and they'll be like, oh, I listen to your podcast, or I listen to what you know, I tune in. I mean, heck, Hungry Ewok was here, you know. I was at PAX West, and Hungry Ewok came and
isn't that so cool?
Like the guy first thing in the morning, like that was the first. He made a beeline for where I was at, and like
you're that guy like, from that thing.
Like I'm like, oh my god, and like he even says, he's like, be careful, he's a hugger. Like that's what he told Jason. I'm like, yeah, I do. I'm like, when someone's like, when I appreciate somebody, like. I want to let them know that I appreciate them, and like
if you have those dice in your pocket, you can hug me all
no. but like, my God, I can't take you, Jason.
You're gonna be stuck in a 10x10 booth with me for 3 days, Doug. You better learn how to take me.
I'm already dreading it.
Oh my gosh.
But like, it's just like, you know, it's like, oh my God, like. Those days when you're thinking like, oh man, like, why am I doing this? It's those interactions that you go, okay, this is why I'm doing it.
Yeah, 100%. And that's what, you know, if you ever get to that point where you're like, I'm gonna hire the con crew to go do that for us. It's so much work. And we've talked about this before, but I don't ever want to not be in my booth, whether it's a 10x10 or a 20x20. I don't ever want to not be in my booth talking to people that are excited about our product, who are excited to meet us, because that is the fuel that carries you on to
Right.
go do everything else.
Totally.
Exactly.
And it's a lot of work too.
It is. It
Yeah.
is. But you know, and it's so funny to me that like, and of course we're going way over time now, and I apologize. But like,
Your
like
end
I said,
times mean nothing to us.
I love it when people like be like, "Oh, aren't you like totally worn down after a convention?" I'm like, no, not usually. That motivates me. Like that makes me go, "Oh, you know what? Like let's." It gives me more ideas, and like you actually get firsthand like interaction with your community, and it just gives you like, oh, okay, yeah, oh, so and so talked about this. Oh, I wonder if like everybody else is on board with. Like I don't know it. I love conventions. I love community building. I love connecting with people, and yeah, so I totally get the whole making content and not sure if it connects on some days, or you just you work on something and it doesn't go right, and you like delete a whole bunch of files, and you're like, oh crap, I just spent the whole day and it didn't.
Or you forget to play intros or outros or countdowns.
Anyway,
it's a thing, man. We out here, and I think sometimes we think we struggle alone in the void, and it's nice to know that it's something that we're all kind of going through. You know,
absolutely is.
Yeah.
Well, you guys have B as a community manager, so you're good.
Oh yeah. If you ever have a bad day, book a meeting with B.
You can't possibly not be excited about something with her. That's just not happening.
Right. Oh yeah. B's awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Now we're gonna call it a show. Closing remarks. Where would you like people to go?
Closing remarks. I could go 50 minutes on that.
No, not for Jason. I'm gonna mute Jason. Chris, Asher, where would you like people to go? Where can they follow you online? Where can they get more Alchemy content?
I send people to Asher, and then Asher sends people to where they need to
Yeah,
go.
exactly. You can just DM me directly on Discord. My DMs are open. That's what Chris tells everybody anyway.
Yeah. I just literally just at Asher.
He does.
Okay.
Yeah, so you can find us. We have a public Discord. You can search on Discord, discord.gg/alchemyrpg. All of us here at Alchemy are there all of the time. You can also find us alchemyrpg.com. You can find us on our Kickstarter. It's Lore of Aetherra Dark Symmetry. Twitter at alchemyrpg. Instagram at _alchemyrpg because
somebody else had it.
Yeah, some human who has literally never posted and is following 4 people has it.
Registered a name just because it was cool.
That's fun.
Exactly, yeah. And you can find us pretty much on all other socials at Alchemy RPG. Yeah, come bother us. Come talk to us. Support the Kickstarter. Don't support the Kickstarter. That's your prerogative. Would love if you did. But if you want to come hang out with us and chat, Alchemy RPG, the platform is totally free. So, come check it out.
It's a solidly active Discord. Actually, it's not too overwhelming. Like there's lots of times I come home from work and I'm just clicking through topics and I'm like, there's only like 5 or 6, but they're bustling topics. So you're not like, holy cow, there's 74 unread things.
It's a good point because like I love the constant activity level now. Now it's things we don't have to push everything. There's just things happening. Mm-hmm. But I've been on those Discords where you can't keep up with it. And
no, it's impossible. You literally spend all day just catching up on a topic. And then you have an opinion. And you're like, well, this was like 12 hours ago. I guess I probably shouldn't say anything.
And of course I want our Discord to do that, but also I don't.
You do and you don't. You want the content, but you don't want it to be so overwhelming that people take one look at it and say, oh God, I can't even get in here.
Yeah,
totally.
All right, folks. You've got some homework to do. If you watched all this far, thank you so much. I'd appreciate it if you hit the like button down below. Share this with friends because, like I said, the Alchemy team are doing some really cool stuff. I think you'll see both me and them at Gamehole Con in Madison, Wisconsin later on this year. So, and probably PAX Unplugged. I didn't even ask if you were coming to PAX Unplugged. So, definitely look for them there. And we'll be glad to chat with you in person and tell you how much we appreciate you being part of our community. So, all right, that's going to do it. This has been Victory Condition Gaming, because winning shouldn't be the only victory condition when you get to the table. We'll see you next time. Bye now.
Love you guys.
Thanks so much for watching this video. If you would be so kind, make sure you hit that like, comment, and subscribe, all the YouTube jazz that we're supposed to do here. It really is greatly appreciated. And if you'd like to support us more, you can check us out on Patreon. Just go to patreon.com/VictoryConditionGaming. We have all sorts of Patreon perks, and it definitely helps support our show. Thank you so much.